In life, especially as a small business, it is very important that you carefully choose who you listen to. So as I created this, I thought of calling this Choose Your Friends Carefully. But then I realized that a lot of us have people in our lives who we didn't choose. Parents, in-laws, roommate. There's all kinds of people in our lives who sometimes feel that they have the ability to weigh in on our lives and give us advice about things who we didn't choose. So it's very important that we manage the communication to them, that we choose our friends to be people who will actually support us and help us grow and move us along, motivate us. But the people who we didn't choose, it's important to manage how they're communicated to. Because you know what? We're dreamers. We buy into a dreams. We're taking control of our lives, of our businesses, of our future. The challenge of taking control is that it almost never happens instantly. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes it's slower than we wanted to be to get results. Sometimes it's harder. It's always harder. Forget the word sometimes. Sometimes it's more expensive than we had planned. Sometimes we get too excited or hopeful. And so then the sales that come in are less than anticipated. You should know that everything I just brought up happens to every one of us. Every one of us has gotten too excited. Every one of us came up slower than we thought it would be. Every one of us found expenses that we didn't anticipate happening. And so I have a couple of words of advice here that I'd like to share with you. Number one, set low expectations, both with yourself and with those that you communicate to others, even with your friends. So if you honestly feel like you're going to sell 30 of this thing, tell everyone you're going to sell 5. Then when you sell 15, you had a major win, as opposed to only getting to half of the 30 that you thought that you were going to sell. So always tell the people around you that this is a very long game, that results start low and that they ramp up over time, just like every single thing in life. You don't walk onto a golf course the first time you go golfing and have an amazing game. You don't walk into a softball game and hit a home run the first time. That's just not the way life works. Yet somehow we seem to think that business should work that way. I am convinced that most small company failures are because they overestimated sales, they underestimated costs, and they underestimated the time it would take them to get successful. All right? If that's the case, if the vast majority of small businesses fall into that camp, then perhaps what we ought to be doing is underestimating sales, overestimating costs, and overestimating the amount of time that it takes to get there, so that when we get there faster than we had estimated, we've got something to celebrate as opposed to something to mourn. Because what ends up happening is that people who are well-meaning will come to you and they'll say, hey, you thought you were going to sell 30, you sold 15, perhaps you should quit. And they are honestly, many of them, some of them are doing it not in your best interest, but many of them are doing it in your best interest, what they perceive to be your best interests. And so what they're going to do is they're going to put pressure on you to quit. And so many people quit too early. Now, I do have a caveat. There are some ideas that were just bad ideas from the very first place, and they shouldn't have even started in the first place. And you never can tell unless you work with somebody who has a pretty good track record of and lots of history and lots of seeing other people fail or succeed. Maybe you can get a good weigh in on your idea right out of the gate. So as I was going through the process earlier today, one of the things I like to do when I take a break for a few minutes is I like to read poetry. I know I'm a little weird, but I like to read poems. And I was reading a poem today called It Couldn't Be Done by Edgar A. Best. Guest. Forget that B. That B is a G and a U. You just can't tell. Edgar A. Guest. I'm so sorry, Edgar. I know you're dead, but your family, if you ever see this, I blew it. I would like to read this to you, if I may. It Couldn't Be Done by Edgar Albert Guest. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he, with a chuckle, replied that maybe it couldn't. But he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. Somebody scoffed. Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one has ever done it. But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start in to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done. And you'll do it. I agree. Choose your friends carefully. Carefully manage the expectations of both the friends you've chosen and the people in your life that you didn't necessarily choose. And as you're managing those expectations, make sure you manage yours and those of others. It's just as important to keep your mind supportive and moving forward as it is to keep the minds of those around you. What do you think? What's been your experience? Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.